What's happening in California is absolutely dreadful. At least 5 wildfires are raging in the Los Angeles area. The 2 largest cover more than 27,000 acres. Authorities are really failing to contain these. One resident says it's like Armageddon. The whole of the Palisades is gone, huge area. Fire broke out in the Hollywood Hills on Wednesday near the Hollywood sign itself. Buildings along Sunset Boulevard are in ruins. We've had loads of people affected, ordinary members of the public, as well as the stars who live there, people like Billy Crystal, Paris Hilton, Ricky Lake, among the stars who've lost their homes. 5 people are confirmed dead. More than 137 people have had their homes evacuated. And really, it is really a dreadful situation. We're reflecting that with Caroline Feraday, who's a journalist in Los Angeles, as well as the fact that Harry and Meghan have now issued a statement on the California fires as well. They're urging people to check in on disabled and elderly neighbours. If you feel compelled to help, here are some resources and ideas. I must say, if my home was being ravaged by wildfires, I probably wouldn't be going onto sussex.com as my first step in that process. They're encouraging people to open their home to others affected and donate to the American Red Cross. Caroline, thank you for joining us. Do we know if Harry and Meghan have opened their home to people?
You are cheeky. Thank you for giving me a good laugh in the middle of something that is so horrifically traumatic for everybody here in LA, because we're all in this moment of trauma, but God bless Meghan for inserting herself into it somehow.
Tell us about you. Tell us about what you're seeing and hearing in Los Angeles, and what how close are you to these wildfires?
Yeah, so I live in LA County, and I live in the area that was affected by the Woolsey fire, which happened in 2018, which went through Malibu then, and that was fairly horrific. And wildfires are something that we are aware of in California, but for anyone who is thinking, well, they get these here? No, not like this, not this way. This is an urban area. Of these wildfires, when they happen, they start, in more sort of forest areas, that kind of thing. This is ripping through communities, people's homes. This is like it ripping through, I'm going to use Bromley as an example, but do you know what I mean? A very heavily populated, nice,
very densely populated area.
Suburban area with a slightly nicer beach than Bromley has. But this is places people go, restaurants that people go to. One of just this lovely restaurant that's been there for like 36 years. I say lovely, not fancy. It's like a shack on the beach that serves fresh fish, and you go up to the counter. It's real like LA kind of icon, really, called the Real Inn. Burnt to the ground, and everything along the Pacific Coast Highway, from what I've seen, is razed to the ground. And the reporters that I'm watching right in the thick of it have been in tears, Peter. These, how often do you watch the news and people are reporting on the toughest of circumstances, and journalists in the thick of it? To see these reporters in tears. These are thousands of homes. It is, when we talk about it covering 17,000 acres, that's not 17,000 acres of forest land. That is 17,000 acres of a community where people live. The Eaton, that's the Palisades fire. Then we've got the Eaton fire to the other side of town. 10,600 acres, and everybody in LA, myself, my friends, my colleagues, every single one of us knows people that are impacted. There are thousands and thousands of people who are not in their homes right now. They have had to drop their pets at animal shelters because where they are sheltering can't take their animals. They're separated from their pets.
Is there
all this panic.
And that's dreadful, and I can only imagine the emotional toll that all of that has on people. Caroline, is there any sense that the authorities have any sense of control, that there is any way this is being contained in any way?
I, in my reporting role, spend a lot of time with particularly the fire service in California, and they are the best in the world. I see the training they go through and what they go through, and these guys are in the front line of this, and honestly, Peter, they are absolute heroes. When they go in, and even when these houses are catching fire, they're picking things up and carrying them out. Grandfather clocks, photo albums, anything they can save, they are doing their best. But here is what they are held back by. Nearly 100-mile-an-hour wind gusts. So normally in a situation where a fire breaks out, they get these big tankers, and it's very impressive to watch. When you watch it happen, they drop fire retardant, they get a perimeter around the fire. That is when you see those figures that are called containment. That doesn't mean that the fire is under control. It means that they've got a perimeter around it and that they're confident it's not going to spread further. These fires are currently at 0% containment because they can't get their aeroplanes up to get the retardant down, and they would normally, particularly if it's in a forest, they just dig this big old trench around it, and that provides like a fire break. They can't do these things. This is absolutely unprecedented. So they've had to try and use water from hydrants in the street. Those hydrants are just not up to it. They are not there to provide that amount of water to that much of a raging inferno, and they're not up to it. So there's this problem with the water pressure, the lack of air support. We've still got today, and the winds have dropped, 60-mile-an-hour winds. Tomorrow, those winds are going back up again. So there's no sense that this is something that happened yesterday. This is something that's happening now. It's going to continue happening tomorrow. People are still going to be out of their homes, losing their homes, looking on like their Ring cameras to find out whether their homes are still standing.
There. Caroline,
I walked around my own... Sorry, I was just going to say I walked around my own house today because people go, "Are you safe? Are you okay?" I'm holding my breath, hoping that my house is something I can go home to tonight, and counting my blessings.
And that's just an awful feeling to have, Caroline. And we really feel for you and everyone in Los Angeles. I wonder, you know, everything you've talked about there is very practical. It's to do with facts. It's to do with the situation that is there. Is there any sense that any of the celebrities who have offered their sort of thoughts and prayers-y kind of things, like Meghan and Harry, is making any difference whatsoever? Are people taking any form of comfort from it? Or are they actually saying, do you know what, there's so much practically we need to think about this devastating effects here, not just on Los Angeles, but in America generally as they cope with these fires?
People like to think that they've done something to help, because you do feel helpless in a situation like this. So I guess there's an element of that. With terms of the Sussexes, where they are, you know, they're not impacted by this. They haven't even got the winds up there, and they do seem to do their own thing of inserting themselves when various news events happen.
I can't believe you would make such an outrageous allegation.
I'm not qualified enough in psychology to be able to diagnose the reasons that they feel to do that. However, I do think that what I've noticed when I am out and about is that and talking to people who are out of their homes, everybody, there seems to be this human condition that is quite moving, in that people do seem to say, I'm badly off, I've lost my home, but there's somebody worse off than me. And that is quite extraordinary to me in these circumstances, and that is what I have encountered, and that is something. So, yeah, dissing of the celebs aside, you know, we've all got family mementos to walk around your home and decide what you're going to take and what you're not going to take. And will you ever see that picture your kid drew you, and then trying to explain it to your kid? Like, those things are real, no matter whether you're Billy Crystal or Billy Jones, right?
Yeah,
that doesn't change.
Thank you, Caroline. Really appreciate your perspective on that. Caroline Feraday there, a journalist in Los Angeles.